It's too crazy. We see such amazing news, and yet the Bitcoin price isn't rising significantly. What's happening now is just unbelievable. We see Google opening up to Bitcoin, and potentially 5 billion people could soon be on board through Google. These are massive leverage effects we're seeing here. The Web3 lead at Google says something amazing about Bitcoin, and also that they clearly want to implement Bitcoin, making trading Bitcoin easier for users. That's incredible, but as I said, we currently see that the Bitcoin price continues to stagnate. We'll also look later at the reasons why Bitcoin will continue to rise, even if the market seems a bit deflated at the moment. Google won't be buying Bitcoin, but they will directly implement Bitcoin into their software products. And currently, there's a conspiracy theory that Jack Dorsey is behind Satoshi Nakamoto. We'll take a look at that as well. Additionally, we now see that Saylor is also commenting on the Fort Knox scandal. He has something to say here that is also shocking, because we know that currently the rumors are circulating that Fort Knox is being audited. Not just rumors, but there are now even concrete statements. But there are rumors that no gold exists in Fort Knox. Saylor is now speaking up. Additionally, we see that UBS, one of the most significant banks in Switzerland and one of the largest asset managers in the world, is now reporting massive Bitcoin positions. And then there's a new theory about who might be behind Satoshi Nakamoto, and it's none other than Jack Dorsey. We'll take a look at that as well. But first, we see Saylor actually discussing Fort Knox with Elon Musk. Elon Musk posts a South Park cartoon here and says, and it's gone. So now the funds are gone. All stored here in Fort Knox or the gold. And Saylor clearly writes here, Bitcoin fixes this. And that's a massive statement he's making here. And it simply can't be surpassed. Because with Bitcoin, the Bitcoin supply can't just disappear somewhere, as it can be verified at any time. And this is the big discussion now, which in my opinion will bring many people to Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin simply has massive advantages over gold, where audits can be conducted at any time, and with gold, it's just so difficult. We need to continue observing the whole situation, but it's already good that this is being discussed. And then we actually see the $5.7 trillion bank, UBS, is not just a bank, but also an asset manager, which has now reported a 1 billion position in MicroStrategy stocks. So they are not buying Bitcoin directly, but they are buying MicroStrategy like many other players. So institutional players often face the question, okay, do I want MicroStrategy or a Bitcoin ETF? UBS has now decided on MicroStrategy. And we also see that more and more pension funds and sovereign wealth funds are now buying Bitcoin. We recently saw the story from Abu Dhabi. Then we saw the pension funds from Wisconsin, which also slightly increased their Bitcoin holdings. And so we are constantly seeing a bit more adoption. These aren't huge allocations. These are the 2, 3, or not even 2, 3%, but rather the 0.1% allocations. But hey, that's already enough for a start. I mean, the 1 billion for UBS isn't much now. Even with pension funds and sovereign wealth funds, the allocations we see are not significant, but they are already good. Signs outwardly. These are definitely things to watch, and these allocations, as we see, are continuously increasing. That means the trend is important to observe here. Are the allocations getting larger, or are they getting smaller? They definitely won't get smaller. If anything, they will remain stable or get larger. And that's already a very good trend that needs to be considered. By the way, what was also crazy, I made the video yesterday about Javier Milei promoting his coin and so on. There was an interview in Spanish where Javier Milei talks about his Libra coin. And here he actually says, hey people, I didn't promote the coin, I just shared it. And this is really taking off now because a lot of people are saying, hey, you can't just say that. And a lot of people in the Bitcoin crypto space are upset with him. Because many are saying, hey, you can't do that, you're the president, you can't just say, hey, I didn't promote it, I just shared it, because when such a relevant account shares something, of course it gets attention, of course people look at it, and now there are many people accusing him of recklessly sharing this project. And it is definitely perceived as a promotion, even if KWMLA says, no, I didn't promote it, I just shared it, but feel free to write in the comments below whether you think it was a promotion or just a sharing. What's much more important here is what's happening with Google, and that really has impact, even though I've already mentioned that it hasn't really pumped the Bitcoin price up right now. But this is definitely a price driver that can push Bitcoin up in the future if it goes through here as well. To be honest, it's just an announcement for now. Nothing has gone through yet, but $2.3 trillion company Google is writing here that they are now working on implementing Bitcoin into their products. Google has 5.4 billion users. This means that very likely, potentially soon, everyone could use Bitcoin through Google products, trade Bitcoin. I don't know exactly what you could do, send Bitcoin, receive Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, those kinds of things. What exactly it will be in detail, we'll have to see. But it says here that Kyle Song, a Web3 specialist at Google, says, we are exploring ways to lower the entry barrier so that Web2 users can use Bitcoin seamlessly. So, from what it sounds like to me, they simply want to create super simple solutions here so that everyone can use Bitcoin through Google products, where you log into your Gmail account or something like that. And then you can directly receive Bitcoin, send Bitcoin. You have an implemented Bitcoin wallet here or some Google phones where secure elements are already integrated, where Bitcoin wallets are integrated. That would be a very, very big catalyst. There wouldn't be direct price pressure here because no Bitcoin is being bought, but indirectly people are being on board. And if you simply have a Bitcoin wallet in Google, and if you're some kind of no-coiner or something, then the likelihood that you might let someone send you Bitcoin or that you might actually click the buy button is higher, because that's simply how a lot of people get on board. They don't want to download any external things. They don't want to sign up somewhere extra. But if suddenly the services you already use offer Bitcoin, it's just like with a bank, then you might end up clicking the buy button. Imagine you've been with a bank for 20 years, and suddenly there's a button to buy Bitcoin, and then you've heard about it somewhere in the media, and then you might actually click on it, hey, buy Bitcoin here, and then you can do research, you can have skin in the game, and you can kickstart your Bitcoin journey. And that's a catalyst that shouldn't be underestimated, even if the price isn't moving much right now. I mean, it's kind of surprising at the moment. We're seeing one big news after another, but the Bitcoin price is just chilling endlessly. On the other hand, it's good for everyone who is holding and chilling through this. I always say this, folks, hey, holding is always worth it in the long run. Historically, we've never seen any evidence that holding isn't worth it. Of course, there are always small setbacks, small sideways phases. And in this bull run, there are now increasingly more sideways phases. So this isn't the first sideways phase we're seeing here. But on the other hand, we also have to say, it's not like the Bitcoin price has massively crashed down or anything. We have some kind of stable foundation at 95,000, 96,000. Let it maybe go down to 90,000 or something. But even if we go down to 90,000, we're still relatively close to the all-time high. And I still say, this is still my statement, this year we will see new all-time highs here with Bitcoin. This is definitely not the top that we've seen so far, at least in my estimation. And now there is actually a theory circulating on the internet, a new theory, about who Satoshi Nakamoto could be. Here, Jack Dorsey is also wearing a Satoshi Nakamoto t-shirt. Jack Dorsey, who now works at Block. And it says here, new theory, the cryptography, knowledge, timestamps, and even his IRC, login location from 2009, fitting for the co-founder of Twitter. So here you can see the parallels between Jack Dorsey and Satoshi Nakamoto. But I can tell you right away, the likelihood that Jack Dorsey is Satoshi Nakamoto is very, very low. Every 3 or 4 months, new theories emerge about who it could be. Last time, I think it was Jameson Lopp or someone like that, where it was said that he is Satoshi Nakamoto. Then it was somehow Hal Finney, or then it was someone else again. That means every 6 months or every few months, a new name comes up as a potential Satoshi Nakamoto. Yes, Jack Dorsey is a big Bitcoin advocate. He's a real OG who was probably involved very, very early on. He has also recently made some critical comments about Bitcoin, but I still think the chances are very, very low that he is Satoshi Nakamoto. And it's also good that Satoshi Nakamoto doesn't exist or that we don't know who it is, because that's the foundation of Bitcoin, that it's decentralized, that there is no central point of attack. That means the best thing Satoshi could do was to disappear from the stage, to completely remove himself. Here you can see either he is dead or we don't know what happened to Satoshi. Or he is really somehow so altruistic that he has no interest in realizing his gains, because Satoshi Nakamoto has over 1 million Bitcoin or around 1 million Bitcoin. He could dump them on the market, he could sell them, he could live a nice life, but apparently he has really withdrawn because he sees the bigger picture here, or he simply passed away. That might even be better for the Bitcoin network. There are always the debates, is it a group or is it an individual? Feel free to write in the comments what you think about it. Then there are also some really absurd theories sometimes. Yes, it's Elon Musk or it was the CIA. But the nice thing is, even if it were to come out now that Satoshi Nakamoto is Jack Dorsey, then Jack Dorsey could not manipulate it. He couldn't change it, because the Bitcoin network is still decentralized. In the beginning, Satoshi would have had a big influence here. By now, this influence is no longer present, and that is very, very great. And I'll say it again, Jack Dorsey has also recently expressed some criticism towards Bitcoin. I just made a video about it recently. He says that Bitcoin has simply lost its original idea, that as peer-to-peer cash it is currently not really being used, but rather that it is more of a store of value. And Jack Dorsey even said that if this doesn't change in the long term, and if he doesn't see any tendencies for Bitcoin to become peer-to-peer cash, to onboard people who don't have access to banks and so on, if this doesn't develop positively in some way, then he is even willing to leave the Bitcoin network and work on other protocols. He is also working a lot on the Nostra protocol and similar projects. And that's also very, very interesting to take note of. And now I have a very, very interesting clip here that I want to share with you, where the massive potential of Bitcoin is addressed again.
Honestly, if you think about what are the macro things that have to happen for Bitcoin to have an explosive second half of the year, they're all happening. So think about what it is that we care about. What is Bitcoin? Verifiability. What have we seen over the last week in terms of massive news stories that are just getting started, that even if they don't turn out to be true, still they're going to scare people. And if they do turn out to be true, are massive. Number one, massive stories about the gold of the Bank of England might not be there, and calls for Doge to audit Fort Knox and the Federal Reserve banks, etc. And a story out of Australia saying the Bank of England, based on serial numbers, almost certainly has counterfeit gold bars. Well, when you compare Bitcoin to gold, what is one of its largest advantages? Bitcoin is 100% verifiable and easily verifiable cheaply, and gold is not. And that is a very big story. And yet, nothing in the markets yet. Okay, that's cool. We're used to things happening and it taking months for it to get digested. What's the second story? Elon is making claims that the Social Security database is completely FUBAR'd, and there is an enormous amount of fraud going on, just absolutely enormous. What has he said we should be doing with all of these spending programs? Putting them on the blockchain. Whether that's good for Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever blockchain, it doesn't matter. But in terms of public trust, in terms of becoming a risk off versus a risk on asset, the notion that using blockchain for something so important and finding a fraud on the scale of 100 Enrons within Social Security, and how no one is talking about what the long-term implication of that is mind-boggling to me. I'm here out in Mammoth Mountain. We're skiing and I'm enjoying myself. I'm reading these stories and I'm thinking, why is no one talking about this? This is a big, big deal. The third story that is huge for Bitcoin and will ultimately be good for crypto is we're finally seeing the meme coin implosion.
So we see Dave Weissenberg talking here, who also says, hey, he can't understand it. He doesn't understand why the Bitcoin price is stagnating like this. We see massive things happening here in the background. He lists 3 things here that can absolutely change everything for Bitcoin. First, the gold story with Fort Knox, which we already touched on before. He says, yes, this can bring additional trust in Bitcoin, thereby pumping the Bitcoin price up. Then he mentions the whole Social Security fraud happening in the USA. So the fraud that the security system in the USA is a huge dilemma. A mega lack of transparency that is simply happening, not only with Social Security, but generally with many, many things in the USA. I mean, it's the same in Germany or in Europe, but here they just don't do audits. And he also says that the next big thing for Bitcoin could be here, because things could be made transparent through the blockchain, and that could pump the Bitcoin price up. Here, I'm still a bit skeptical because I'm not sure if that would happen through Bitcoin. I think it would rather happen through stablecoins or something like that. This goes back to Elon Musk's statement, what he said. He wants to make government spending transparent and bring it onto the blockchain. And then he also mentions that we are seeing a meme coin implosion. And that's also good for Bitcoin. And I see it the same way. We see all the meme coins exploding. And that's a good sign for Bitcoin. And he says again, hey, why is no one talking about this? Write it in the comments if you know. If you still want to buy Bitcoin, I'll put a link below for you. 21 Bitcoin. You can buy Bitcoin here safely, easily, super simply. With the code Bitcoin Hotel, you can get up to 20% on the fees when buying Bitcoin. Suitable for beginners and advanced users. There are many important features like savings plans, auto wallet transfer, and much more. Check it out. 21 Bitcoin, absolutely recommended. Guys, write in the comments below what you think about it, about the current movements. See you then. Peace out.